They were all laughing at the beach reunion, clinking glasses, making comments about how peaceful it felt without me. But then the event host raised his mic and said, "And let's all give thanks to the generous property owner, Ms. Nora Whitmore." Silence fell like a thunderclap. "Hi, I'm Nora. For 10 years, my family pretended I didn't exist until they stepped into a house they didn't realize I owned. You won't believe what happened next or how I got here without yelling, begging, or burning a single bridge. Before we dive into the story, let me learn a bit about you. If you're a charming lady, please leave the number 1 in the comments. And if you're a dashing gentleman, leave the number 2. This way, I can send you a special greeting. Now, let's start the story together." The email arrived at 7:03 a.m., right as my second cup of coffee had gone cold, and the morning light spilled across my kitchen floor like it had something to prove. Whitmore Family Beach Reunion. RSVP now. The subject line sparkled with exclamation points and fake enthusiasm. I already knew I wouldn't be on the list, but curiosity still got the better of me. I clicked. There they were. Tessa, of course, already replied with a sun emoji and a note about gluten-free s'mores. Gavin chimed in with a joke that wasn't funny, as usual. Even cousin Dana, who once accidentally set fire to a citronella candle, was included. It was all there. Everyone. Except me. 10 summers. That's how long I'd been missing from the Whitmore family updates. 10 years of polite neglect and photoshopped albums where I'd been quietly cropped out. Once they told me the invite must have gone to spam. Another year, I got directions to the wrong beach house. 3 hours south, alone in a rental car with store-bought cupcakes and no one to hand them to. This time, though, I didn't cry. I didn't call Tessa pretending to be surprised or hurt. I just sat with it, the email open in one tab, my calendar in the other, already full with deadlines for the medical symposium I was managing. And then I remembered the storage unit. It had been almost a decade since I last unlocked Unit 14C. The hallway smelled like stale cedar and forgotten paperbacks. My boots echoed against the concrete as I stepped inside, pulled the light cord, and faced the trunk I hadn't touched since Grandma Elaine passed. Her trunk, sea blue with a cracked leather handle, still sat in the corner like it had been waiting for me. Inside were the usual things: a faded quilt, old seashells, and a journal wrapped in a linen scarf. Tucked into the back cover was an envelope, yellowed and sealed with her distinct handwriting. "Open only when you stop asking for permission." My hands hesitated. Then I tore it open. The letter was short, loving, and firm. "You don't need their approval, Nora. You need your own power. I left a clause in the trust. If they ever let this house go, if they neglect it, it's yours." I blinked, heart thudding. I pulled out my phone, opened the county assessor's site, and searched for the property. There it was, listed quietly, for sale. Unpaid property taxes flagged red. No group message, no family discussion, just another piece of history discarded like an old towel. I sat in my car, the Charleston humidity clinging to the windows, and stared at the listing. The wraparound porch, the white trim, the same house where Tessa posed for maternity photos, where my parents toasted anniversaries without me, and now it was for sale. I didn't hesitate. I clicked Contact Agent. This time, I wouldn't wait for a call or make a case for my place at their table. I'd just buy the damn table. No one handed me keys with a ribbon, no champagne toast, no awkward group photo in front of a red bow. Just a quiet PDF file sitting in my inbox on a cloudy Wednesday afternoon with the subject line, "Property Deed Executed." My name was printed neatly in the corner. I stared at it for a long time. My phone buzzed on the counter. Rachel had texted, "Did you do it?" I didn't reply right away. I just sat there for a while in the stillness of my apartment, the coastal breeze pushing against the windows. The wind carried the sound of seagulls and traffic and something else, something that felt like permission I hadn't asked for. Dad once told me, "You were the only one who ever checked how I was doing, not what I could give." He said it one summer on that porch, in the hour before the sun dipped low, when the others had already gone inside. I didn't know then how much that moment would matter now. The law office had smelled like carpet cleaner and cheap pens. The attorney was kind enough, professional, neutral in the way people are when they see something unexpected but say nothing. He explained the trust clause and the default. I signed. That was it. I returned home and opened the old linen drawer in the hallway. At the very back, buried under dish towels, was the letter. Grandma Elaine's words still fresh in my mind. I placed it on my nightstand. Later that evening, I sat at my laptop and opened the reservation portal for the beach house. The reunion dates were blocked off by someone named Tessa Events. I selected the same dates. I chose the master suite. I entered my name, my legal ID, and hit submit. The page refreshed. Reservation confirmed. Primary owner, Ms. Nora Whitmore. I took a slow breath. The kind you don't realize you've been holding for years. Rachel pinged me again. Are you sure? This feels epic. I typed back, I'm not crashing their party. I'm hosting it. Meanwhile, on Tessa's page, a fresh post appeared. A filtered shot of the beach house deck, captioned, Final Prep. Can't wait to gather with all the people who matter most. I didn't comment. Instead, I pulled open the closet where I kept a box of old keepsakes. At the bottom, wrapped in tissue, was the wind chime I made with Grandma. Seashells still clung to its string, though one had slipped free, and the twine holding it together was frayed. I didn't fix it. Not yet. Some things deserve to hang broken for a while, until you're ready to listen again. The table they thought I didn't deserve? I'd already said it. I didn't need to be in the room. The house said everything for me. From where I sat, corner table at the cafe across the street, I could see the glow of string lights threading through the porch rails. White chairs circled the fire pit like always. A banner fluttered across the entryway. Whitmore Family Beach Week 2024. Same phrase, same font. I could have predicted every balloon color and playlist. Inside, laughter echoed faintly through the cafe glass. Tessa's voice rang louder than most, sharp, confident, the kind that filled every silence before it had the chance to grow uncomfortable. I stirred my tea slowly and let the mug warm my palms. The wind shifted just enough for me to catch the faint smell of marshmallows toasting over firewood. At 8, I burned my tongue at that same pit. I believed back then that family was permanent, that if you shared dessert and matching towels, you belonged. The event host stepped up to a small platform just beside the front porch. He was holding a mic and smiling wide. Clearly a local, probably paid in gift baskets and extra vacation days. Good evening, everyone, he started. We're honored to have you here for what looks like another unforgettable week of love, laughter, and legacy. I saw Tessa nudge Gavin, both of them grinning, arms crossed like royalty. Margaret stood a step behind them, nodding politely, her earrings catching the light like punctuation marks. And tonight, the host continued, we want to thank the person who made this possible, our generous property owner, Ms. Nora Whitmore. The silence that followed landed like a stone dropped into still water. Tessa's head snapped toward the host. Gavin pulled out his phone. Margaret blinked once, then again, as if her lenses had suddenly fogged. A server paused mid-tray. Someone whispered something, but no one responded. My own heartbeat slowed. Rachel's text arrived 5 seconds later. Best moment ever. Another text. You should see their faces. A small voice, probably one of the kids, broke the quiet. Why didn't Aunt Nora come? A woman, I couldn't tell which, answered with a clipped tone. She's not part of this. The host, bless him, either didn't hear or didn't care. He went on mentioning how gracious Ms. Whitmore had been in coordinating the booking and ensuring everything was ready. He smiled with the oblivious joy of someone who had no idea he just lit a very polite bonfire. Through the cafe window, I could see Gavin scrolling frantically on his phone. A minute later, his posture stiffened. He turned the screen to Tessa. Her expression darkened, jaw tight. I didn't need to guess what he'd found. My name, on the property record. clear as daylight. I finished my tea, folded my napkin, reached for my wallet with steady hands. There were no fireworks, no confrontation, just the quiet understanding of a page turning. As I stepped out into the evening air, I adjusted my sunglasses, though the sun was already down, and crossed the street, toward my house. The knock didn't come at the front door. It came at the back patio window. 3 short taps, almost polite, just as the sun was folding itself into the horizon. I didn't get up right away. I already had a strange feeling. When I did open the door, halfway, just a crack, a microphone slid toward me, followed by a young man with too much gel in his hair and a cameraman behind him. "Ms. Whitmore," he said quickly, "can you confirm whether you coerced your father into signing over the family estate while he was medically compromised?" His voice was smooth, like he'd rehearsed that sentence a dozen times. Behind them, a van idled in the driveway, its headlights cutting across the porch. A red blinking light on the camera stared at me like a threat. I didn't flinch. I didn't speak. I simply closed the door. The lock clicked louder than it needed to. Inside, my phone was already lighting up. Notifications poured in like rain, screenshots, tags, comments. I sat on the edge of the bed as the screen filled with post after post. Tessa had gone live on her curated page, captioned, "Some people choose power over love. I pray for them." A picture of her children on the beach beneath it, bathed in golden light. A performance in perfect lighting. The comments came fast and full of fire. Unbelievable. Taking advantage of a sick parent? Who does that? Money always changes people. People who had never met me decided who I was in 140 characters or less. I stared at the screen until the edges blurred. For a moment, a single fleeting moment, I nearly deleted everything. All my accounts, all my photos. I wanted to vanish before their version of me could stick. Then the door opened. This time, the actual front door. And Rachel stepped in, holding 2 things. A bag of groceries and her phone like it was a weapon. "Don't move," she said. "I have receipts." She pulled up screenshots, group chats I'd never seen, DMs from Tessa mocking my anxiety, texts from my mother saying I was too busy pretending to be important. And then an audio file. Rachel hit play. Tessa's voice filled the room, her tone clipped and careless. If she wanted to be part of this family, she should have been easier to control. I didn't speak. My hand reached for the matchbox near the windowsill. I struck one, lit the small candle on the table beside me, and watched the flame steady itself. My hand trembled slightly, not with fear, with release. We didn't need to post a rebuttal. We didn't need to argue in comments or fight fire with likes. I opened my laptop instead. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Rachel asked, setting the groceries down, her voice soft now. I nodded. "They want noise. I'll give them proof." The legal portal loaded slowly. I gathered every file, every message, the audio, the estate papers, even the copy of Grandma's trust clause. Then I clicked, "Attach files." Let them speak. I had proof. The courthouse didn't smell like justice. It smelled like lemon disinfectant and old wood polish. I had always imagined these places as echo chambers of truth. But that morning, it just felt like a family dinner where everyone pretended to be polite with microphones instead of mashed potatoes. I wore my grandmother's navy dress, the one she gave me after college, the one I hadn't worn since her funeral. That day, no one saved me a seat. I stood in the back, holding the memorial program like a shield, pretending not to care, pretending not to see my name misspelled on the list of surviving family. Rachel walked beside me through security. She didn't speak, but her presence was a comfort. She always understood the power of silence. Inside, the courtroom was cold and still. Margaret sat on the left side, lips pursed, clutching a silk scarf. Tessa sat rigid in a white pantsuit, flipping through notes like she had rehearsed every blink. When the case was called, the judge looked up. Older, steady eyes, the kind that had seen too many lies disguised as concern. Tessa's lawyer stood first. He was young, polished, the kind of man who used words like deterioration and unwitting coercion with ease. "Your Honor," he began smoothly, "we contend that Ms. Whitmore exploited her father's declining mental capacity for personal gain. At the time of the deed transfer, Mr. Thomas Whitmore was no longer competent to make such decisions." I stood when asked, heart steady, voice clear. "With the court's permission, I'd like to present supporting evidence, video, audio, and digital communications to clarify both my father's state of mind and the nature of our relationship." The judge nodded. I handed over the USB. The lights dimmed. The video began with the rustle of porch leaves. My father sat in his favorite chair, the ocean behind him, his voice unmistakable. "She came back when I fell," he said. "She's the only one who didn't ask for money. She just brought soup and asked how I was doing. I want Nora to have this house. She was never gone in the ways that matter." A few gasps echoed across the courtroom. Next, the audio. Tessa's voice, clipped and unfiltered. Let her rot in her condo. If she wanted to be part of this family, she should have been easier to control. Someone in the back shifted in their seat. I caught Margaret's hands tightening in her lap. For the first time, her eyes met mine. Then came the group messages, screenshot after screenshot, comments about me being too sensitive, jokes about excluding me for everyone's peace. Messages sent not in malice, but in cruelty disguised as convenience. When the lights returned, the judge sat still for a moment longer than I expected. "This court finds no basis for injunction," he said. "The video and audio presented show clarity of intent from the deceased. The documentation reflects a long-standing pattern of exclusion, not manipulation. Ms. Whitmore acted lawfully." He leaned slightly forward. "And this court," he added, voice steady, "is not here to validate cruelty masked as tradition." The gavel came down like a closing breath. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I turned, gathered my bag, and walked out. Outside, the reporters swarmed. Cameras, flashes, questions. How does it feel to win? Will you respond to your family's statements? I paused just once, turned to the cluster of voices. "Sometimes," I said quietly, "the truth doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be shown." Rachel caught up to me on the steps. She didn't say anything. She just placed a hand on my shoulder, light but steady. And we walked together to the car, the weight of that silence finally beginning to lift. The house was empty, but it no longer felt hollow. The air was different, lighter somehow. Not the silence of abandonment, but the quiet of a place waiting to be lived in again. I left the windows open. The breeze moved through the rooms like it had known them longer than I had. I walked slowly, room by room, past the kitchen island where Tessa used to lay out her Pinterest-worthy cheese boards, past the dining table where I was once asked to take the photo, never to be in it, past the framed photos that lined the hallway, still dusty from the weeks they had been left behind. One picture made me pause. Tessa's kids gathered around the fire pit, marshmallows in hand. I was never in the background, not even by accident, like I'd never existed. 10 years ago, I was erased. Now I walked each hallway by name. Upstairs, in the corner closet once used for crafts and seasonal linens, I found the wind chime, the one I made with Grandma when I was 8, seashells, fishing line, a wooden hoop. It had long since frayed, and one of the shells had fallen loose. I brought it downstairs and laid it gently on the counter. Thread by thread, I began to repair it. I didn't rush. I didn't glue anything. I let my hands remember the knots, the weight, the rhythm. Sometimes healing isn't loud. It's just a quiet repetition until something holds again. A car door shut outside, then footsteps. Rachel appeared with a grocery bag and a bottle of Pinot. "You didn't think I'd let you settle in without wine and paper towels, did you?" We didn't say much. We cleaned together, the kind of cleaning that feels more like settling in than scrubbing out. I folded the throw blanket Grandma used to drape over her lap during thunderstorms. Rachel dusted off the window sills while humming something soft and familiar. Later, a knock at the gate. It wasn't Tessa. It wasn't Mom. It was Mrs. Carmichael from 2 houses down holding a tin wrapped in floral foil. "Lemon bars," she said with a kind smile. "Your dad used to talk about you, more than the others." I blinked. "He did?" She nodded. "Told me once. That girl thinks in tides. I never forgot that." After she left, I hung the wind chime on the porch. It swayed gently in the breeze, the seashells clicking against each other like old friends catching up. I didn't burn the bridge. I just stopped building it for people who never planned to cross. The wind carried the scent of lemon, the hush of waves, and something else, something that sounded a little like music. As the wind chime swayed gently on the porch, I realized the house wasn't just mine by deed. It had become mine by truth, by time, and by quiet persistence. Sometimes, the deepest healing doesn't come from being invited back. It comes from deciding you belonged all along. In this life, we don't always get the family we hoped for, but we can choose how to carry our story forward with strength, not spite. If you've ever felt left out, forgotten, or quietly erased, I hope this reminds you, you don't need permission to take up space, just the courage to reclaim it. If this story touched something in you, I'd be honored to hear your thoughts. Feel free to share where your own strength has brought you home.